breaks up the monotony.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Our town attorney has a stomach.
You
And I
need him.
didn't really want him to sit beside him.
Oh,
So he's.
no.
He's short and sweet.
Okay.
That's what I like.
No.
You know,
Yeah, just have
that's when you do it, I think. You just tap it down with your mic.
Go ahead, start. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 13th, 2025 Kill Devil Hills Board of Commissioners meeting. I call this meeting to order and invite all to stand and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It was my sincere privilege and honor to have shared some remarks at the service celebrating the life of Daryl Collins, who for decades shared the story of the Wright brothers and their powered flight to multiple generations of Americans. As we enter into a moment of silence, let us keep his wife Tanya and their family in our thoughts and prayers. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, our next item of business this evening is our agenda approval. We have agenda before us.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We have an agenda. Now it's time to set aside for public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the board on any topic of their choosing. We do ask that when called upon, approach the podium, speak into the microphone, and identify yourself by name and address. Any takers this evening?
Me.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Sandy Markland. I reside at 2013 Hampton Street. I just wanted to take a minute. One of the hats I wear is as Chief Elections Judge for the town of KDH. And also I run the early voting site that is located here. And I have been meaning to write a letter of thanks since November, but I just never got around to it. So my apologies. I want to first off to say a general thank you to the Board of Commissioners and to town staff for their willingness to share this room with our voters over that extended period of time. We appreciate the difficulties, the loss of use of this room, but even more so than that, the trouble with parking, lines, difficulties just conducting everyday business. And we realize that it's a strain. And so we really, really appreciate your allowing us to do that. But I have a few people that were particularly helpful. I would like to start off with our town manager, Debbie Diaz, who is always the most accommodating, pleasant, and genuinely nice person to deal with. I would like to thank our town clerk, Michael Odell, who is almost my right-hand person during elections. He is awesome. As are Parker Johnson and Jennifer Stetcher, who it's incredible. When I need any little thing, they are there. Also, Charlene Allen, who managed to find for me a bunch of clipboards when I needed them to accommodate a curbside bus voting many, many old people. I would also like to thank the Kill Devil Hills Police Department, in particular, Assistant Chief Dana Harris, who is always there for us. We feel comfortable dealing with anything that arises because we know that if there is ever any problem, I just have to call and our backup is here. So thank you. Also, Kurt Odell, who rose to the occasion when we had an electronic lock problem, which he was very patient with me because that was truly the end of the world that night. And he came in and he worked on it that night and the next day and got the problem solved for us. And last but certainly not least, the police officers who sat outside every night to make sure that my people made it to their cars safely. And also, in particular, Sergeant Rodney Rawls, who sat and waited on us the last day of early voting and also helped to get all of the ballot boxes and equipment into my car. Without him, we would probably still be out there trying to get them in. So without these people, it never would have run as smoothly as it did. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak in public comments? Seeing no one, Sandy, thank you for those kind words, and thank you for all the work you do. How many, if you know the number, what were the totals for early voting and voting day together at this site?
Early voting at this site was 10,600, which is the largest number ever. Election day was 826, which for an election day total is nothing, but everyone voted early. Election day was notable because everyone who wasn't registered to vote seemed to show up that day. So I was kind of buried with provisional voting, and that was very heavy that day. But that is a very heavy voting total.
Well, thank you so much.
I'd like to echo what the mayor said. Thank you for what you do, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. She's got a good team.
She does the best.
They are good. Yes, they are the best.
Seeing no more response to public comment, we will jump into introductions and presentations. And Sandy, I right back over to you for good news on trash today.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Markland. I reside at 2013, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as the chair for KDH Trash Attack, which is an annual event. Each spring, we gather together volunteers and pick up trash throughout the town to prepare our town to look its best for our season. This year, 2025, Trash Attack is scheduled for April 5th, which is a Saturday. It will be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and the staging area will be Aviation Park, which has become our new home. The rain date for this event is Sunday, April 6th, from 1 to 3 p.m. There is a planning meeting this Wednesday here in this room at 4 o'clock. Everyone is welcome to attend. We just hash out the details of T-shirts and food and zone captains and all the little things that make it run. I look forward to seeing anyone there who would like to be there. And then we also have a poster contest each year for our school-age kids. Tomorrow, staff will get out the information on the annual poster contest, and they are welcome to have their artwork turned in by a date certain. And the judging in the past has been either by me and my co-chair or by the DARE Arts Council Executive Director and a group from our committee. So that's yet to be determined. Does anybody have any questions about Trash Attack? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have a question. I have a comment. I hope I don't have to press the distress button again this year. We found the treasure trove last. It'd be hard to.
Sure did. Yeah.
They found that be as productive as we were. We probably should go back to that same site and see if.
Probably some more further
Yeah.
north in there. Yeah.
But look forward to it.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right, our next item of new business is presentation of annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 2023, 2024. Who was making here we go.
Good evening. My name is Emily Mills, and I'm a Department of Fire. I'm pleased to appear before you this evening to present the town's annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. Thank you for allowing our firm to perform this service for the town. I also want to commend the work of the finance staff. Angel, Sam, and the finance team were helpful, professional, and wonderful to work with. On page 1 of your financial statements, you will find our independent auditor's report. We have issued an unmodified opinion on the statements of the town of Kill Devil Hills as of June 30th, 2024. An unmodified report is the highest level of assurance that we as independent auditors can issue and states that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the town at June 30th, 2024. This is commonly referred to as a clean opinion. In addition to the independent auditor's report, we have also issued a report on the town's compliance, also known as a Yellow Book report. This report is in the compliance section of the financial statement starting on page 167. This report deals with the town's compliance with government auditing standards. We noted no findings that we consider to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. The financial statements were submitted to the LGC on November the 14th, and the LGC reviewed the statements on November the 26th. There is one item that requires the town to submit a response to the LGC. This item is concerning the benchmark ratio for water and sewer capital assets condition ratio, generated from the LGC's data input workbook. The town had to submit a response on this same ratio for the prior year's audit. The town's response should be submitted to the LGC within 60 days of today's presentation and should be signed by a majority of the board, the manager, and the finance officer. Example responses are available on the LGC's website. The balance sheet information for the general fund can be found on page 24. At the end of the year, June 30th, 2024, the town's general fund had an unrestricted cash balance of $20 million and a restricted cash balance of $11 million. The general fund's total fund balance was $34 million. Of this amount, $15 million was unassigned for any specific purpose. The revenues and expenditures for the general fund are summarized on page 26. The general fund reported $25 million in revenues and $24 million in expenditures, and $2.2 million from other financing sources. This resulted in an increase to fund balance of $4 million. The statements for the water and wastewater activities begin on page 30. These funds resulted in a combined increase of $1.8 million for the year. Again, we would like to thank the town for the opportunity to be of service.
Does the board have any questions for Emily? We have her on the phone if you do. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Can you hear me? Cool.
Yep.
There.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam Angelo. I'm the acting finance director right now. Just to go along with that video, I have a short presentation for you guys. Before we jump into that, I do want to take a moment and just respond. We have the required state response. Like Emily said, it's the same issue that we had last year. Actually, the county got the same note from the state as we did. It's a debt to asset ratio, or not debt to asset, sorry, asset to depreciation ratio for our water fund assets. It has nothing to do with the actual condition of the assets. It's just how old they are. Our replacement schedule that we follow is based on a study that we have done by an engineering firm every 10 years. It was last done in 2022, and we got very good marks on it. And we're just following that replacement schedule. You're required to have, not required, but you get a note if you don't hit 0.5. So exactly half of the useful life left. We're at 0.48. So if we follow the replacement schedule, that should slide back into place. Next, I want to take a second to shout out the finance staff. For the 36th year in a row, we received the Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting. That's related to the ACFR. That's the big bound report that we do every year, and you guys probably have in front of you right now. And also for the first time, this past year, we got the PAFR award. That's the Popular Annual Financial Report. And that's the shorter, more colorful one that you guys probably have in front of you. That is a testament to Angel, our finance director's, mentality to always try and do better. It was not required. It's just something extra that we can do to try and help the community, give them a little bit more of a digestible report. All right, without further ado, we'll get into a short slideshow here. These slides are cut straight from that PAFR report in front of you. So I'm here to answer any questions tonight, but if you take that report home and you're browsing through it, I'm always available. Just shoot me an email. I'm happy to, answer any questions that you might have tomorrow or later in the week. All right, get my clicker here. We will jump right in. All right, general fund revenues. You'll see 4 categories up there. Ad valorem and other taxes and licenses we'll touch on in their own slides. Here, I'll just talk for a minute about intergovernmental. You'll see a decrease in that. That is just us moving further out from 2022 beach renourishment. We're still, in this past year, we got about 300,000, but in 2023, we got 700,000 for that. And now that project is officially closed out. That's behind us. So it should kind of level out again. The rest of that difference is the stream flow rehabilitation grant. Again, it's one time, came in 2023, 260,000. We put it to very good use. I think cleaning out a lot of our irrigation ditches and stuff like that. And then other income, you'll see a nice increase in that. That is something I'm personally happy about. That's from our investment portfolio. That's just a product of interest rates rising. Our investment portfolio is all in the safest possible investments, government bonds, which pay interest rates just based on the Federal Reserve. So as they've raised rates, our returns have done a lot better. All right, like I said, we touch on ad valorem taxes on their own slide here. We had a rate increase go into effect this year, and kind of that combined with, the continued development of the town that we're all kind of seeing happen around us. We saw a 12% increase in ad valorem taxes. That's in line with what we expected. It amounts to about 1.3 million from 10.3 to 11.6. And then that other taxes and licenses, this has a couple things going into it. The 3 major ones, though, are your sales tax and your occupancy tax, and then the land transfer. Everyone here knows that 2020 to 2022, we saw the crazy boom in activity here. I think contrary to what a lot of people expected, we've maintained a very, consistent and healthy sales tax and occupancy tax. Some of that's obviously due to inflation, but it's been consistent nonetheless. Land transfer taxes have kind of come back down to earth. Those are paid when people purchase properties and sell properties, and kind of nationwide, there's been a little bit of a slowdown with that. It's still elevated compared to 2019, but it's not at 2020 to 2022 levels. All right, expenditures. This one looks pretty nice. If you look at that bottom number, our expenses are actually down this year quite a bit. That is mainly due to a one-time payback of $3.6 million that we did on a FEMA loan, or a FEMA special obligation bond. We paid that back in 2023. It only happens once. You can see it, the big decreases in debt service, and that's what that bond was. Everything else, I mean, there was a cut in transportation as well. That's more timing of roads projects than anything else. Like sometimes the money just gets spent in May versus July. It's more timing than a amount of work getting done. Everything else, you'll see increases in line with inflation for the year. And on the next slide, you can kind of see that 3-year trend. You look at general government, it, bumps way up in 2023 and then comes back down to earth, actually a little bit lower in 24 than it was in 22. We've done a nice job controlling costs here, due in large part to the efforts of the staff. We do everything that we can to reduce non-essential spending, and we'll delay certain payments if it's recommended. All right, capital projects. We've had some nice ones finish up this year. I think a lot of Meekins Park happened last year, but the finishing touches did come in this year. That's your parking lot and your sidewalk and, kind of ongoing stuff with the splash pad and a couple little buildings over there. Then Aviation Park got a facelift. The hockey rink had new lights and new surfaces. And if you went over there at Christmas time, I'm sure you heard the new sound system. And of course, the big one was the fire station. Technically, the CO came in August, which is this fiscal year, but the lease with Dare County did start last year, just in July, right before the CO came in. That's a 20-year lease with the option to extend 3 times for 10 years per extension. So ideally, we have it, set terms for 50 years. And then streets projects continue. Wrightsville Boulevard is what they're working on right now. That's obviously a big street for us. And yeah, as normal. All right, fund balance. This is the accumulation of what's left over at the end of every year. It's kind of classified in 5 different classifications. You'll see them broken down here: non-spendable, that's inventory and prepaids. It's just the non-cash assets that we kind of track. Then we have stuff that is restricted by an external factor. That's your restricted fund balance. We have a certain amount that the state requires us to keep saved, just to, I guess it's really an emergency fund, but ideally it's one that you never draw on. And then you have your public safety and your streets that we do set asides for. And then we will look at specific capital reserve funds on the next slide. We have nothing committed. And then assigned, that 2.2 number represents things that we set money aside for in the prior year that money didn't get spent as of June 30th, but we are still getting those things. So it's approved with the prior year's budget, still kind of waiting to be spent. And then unassigned, this is, kind of free cash that we have. We have a policy where we set aside a certain percentage of our average yearly expenditures. That's what that 9.4 number is. And it leaves us about $6 million to meet the needs of the town. Capital reserves. This is our savings accounts essentially for different kind of recurring or maintenance expenses around town. The big one being beach nourishment. That's up to $4.8 million as of the end of last year. And we continue, you guys approve certain allocations every year for it. Same thing, shoreline access, $325K, and recreational facilities is sitting at $179. And then for the sidewalks and multi-use path, we have $130 set aside. Obviously, that's mostly ongoing maintenance, although we do have sidewalk projects rolling out with that streets master plan. And then streets, $2.7 million. some of that's going towards Wrightsville and then continuing projects moving forward. All right, the enterprise funds. The difference between these and your governmental funds is these run a little bit more like a business. We don't want our water department losing money every year. And they've done a very good job of not losing money. So most of their income just comes from service fees. We saw a 2.9% increase from last year. That's right in line with a 3% increase in water rates. And then we did see an increase in expenses of 12.1%. A lot of that is wage growth. We had the COLA go into effect at the end of 2023, 6/30/2023. And then some general inflation in other areas, particularly health insurance premiums up 5.5%. But at the end of the year, we increased that net position by 1.7 million, giving them a total net position of 28.1. So we think that's pretty healthy. And finally, last slide here is the second enterprise fund, wastewater. The town actually contracts out the management of the wastewater facility. That contract costs us about $36,000 a year, and they keep it very stable for us. It brings in about $200,000 and it costs about $150,000. So not huge numbers for us, but very consistent. And that's all I really have for you guys. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have now, or like I said, happy to field them all week.
Thank you, Sam.
Yep.
Going back a little bit, I enjoyed reading this. It was, like you said, much more digestible than
I like
than the big one was. And I hope you can find, make the more available this can be to anyone at home who wants to learn more about the town finances. It's very user friendly and made understanding this process a lot better. So thank you all. You said 36 years of consecutive award-winning finances.
Yep.
Congratulations,
Very
sir.
impressive.
Thank you.
And
It's-
to everybody.
Again, thank you to Angel and the rest of the finance team for sure. The PAFR will be posted online after this meeting.
Great.
And Rachel, our public information officer, will be sending it out, an announcement to the normal channels.
Very good.
Super.
Thanks, Sam.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Well, town manager, do we have any ongoing business this evening?
We do not, sir.
We go on to new business item number 1, Shore Protection Project Beach Maintenance Plan. Get the papers organized.
Ms. Guns.
Meredith?
Yes, sir. This is the beach maintenance plan that we do at the conclusion of each renourishment. Well, we actually do it every 2 years, depending on if we have storms or significant changes. Beach maintenance plan is required to have certain elements for FEMA assistance in the event of a natural disaster. We were able to use our beach maintenance plan and our annual monitoring that's part of the maintenance plan to actually receive some federal money for our 2022 project because of Hurricane Dorian and the loss of sand that was caused by that hurricane, and our beach maintenance plan outlining our annual surveys and all of the testing that we do as part of the beach maintenance plan. It also sets out our schedule for our next renourishment and what the possibilities are and some average costs. I would love to tell you the page, but I'm not sure I have it right at the tip of my fingers. Yes, so it's on page 8 if you are interested they have been looking at in this plan, and it's not been agreed upon by all the towns, and I don't know that it will be. It might be something that's after the next nourishment, which is in 2027. Is that right?
Right, yeah.
Yes. but they've been looking at a cost savings that you could get by doing a 6-year renourishment and a 7-year renourishment, which initially would cost quite a bit more because you would be putting more sand out, but the length of time that it would be for the mobilization and the engineering and everything over time, it may be cost effective, but it's a question of if our dynamic shoreline can handle a longer stretch. And that's what they're studying right now. So I'm pretty sure that it won't be with the 2027, but it is something that they're looking at, and they'll probably bring you some more very scientific information about that in the future. But it is part of our maintenance plan, so that you can read about it and the difference in the volumes that they're considering at this time. Any questions about the maintenance plan? It's very technical.
Yes.
Quite.
We need a Pafford guy for this too.
Really, if you read the executive summary at the end, it pretty much sums it up, and you can skip some of the, they are looking for a secondary, well, actually a fourth sand source right now. The county is involved with that, in doing some exploration for a northern sand source that's a little bit closer to the Duck Southern Shores project, to try to preserve the
Okay.
one that Killable Hills and Nags Head use. So that is, I think they're doing cores this winter to see if it is compatible and we can get Army Corps approval, and that'll give us more sand for the future with our Site A. If you look in the maintenance plan, you'll see all the different sites. They're looking at a Site C right now. That's almost at the Virginia line.
Wow. Any comments or questions?
What's your thought on the 6 or 7 year? Do you think is that feasible? That doesn't seem very feasible.
I don't
to me,
really
but-
have enough information. I just
Yeah.
wanted to point it out that they did
Yeah.
put some monetary, some savings in there. All 4 towns would have to approve it. And the county would have to approve it because it would be more money. You would have to do the 5-year first.
Right.
So you'd have to do 2027.
Mhm.
Now, whether there's extra money to make 2027 a longer a 6 or 7 year project, or do you start planning at 2027 with your municipal service district, since we're already well into this process for the next nourishment, and say, well, when we do the 32, it'll be a 6-year and it'll be, so I think it's going to come down to money and whether they feel like the dynamic of the shoreline can handle holding a 6-year project. Because we have a more dynamic shoreline than almost anywhere else that does beach nourishment.
Estimated savings is 130 some thousand.
I think it was, a smidge more than that.
234.9.
234.
But that would be using
5 to
today's numbers, so
7.
that's gonna
Yes,
Mhm.
fluctuate.
correct.
From 5 to 7.
137 to,
I thought I read
For each
137. Yep.
correct.
Okay.
It's not changing the 2027 project. Like when the 2027 project was done, because the sand we put on the beach in 2022 was a 5-year project.
Gotcha.
It's just throwing those alternatives out there so that each town can consider it, but all 4 towns have to, and the county have to approve it. So I'm not really sure where that'll go.
Yeah.
I think a lot more information is needed.
I agree.
All right. Any action? on-
Yes, sir. Would appreciate a motion to adopt the Shoreline Protection Project Beach Maintenance Plan.
Mayor, I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We have a
Thank you.
plan.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, our next item in new business is bay disposal rate increase requests.
Yes, sir. Bay Disposal and Recycling, which provides voluntary subscription recycling curbside for our citizens, has requested an increase. The attached memo from the Public Services highlights the request by Bay would be from $14.83 per cart per month it would increase to $14.83 per cart per month, up from $13.99. This is a 6.5%. It would be implemented in April of 2024. It's simply a request, and due to the rising cost, the town has enjoyed a 17-year relationship with Bay Disposal. They provide our citizens with a convenient service for those that want it without imposing it on those who prefer to use our recycling center. Staff recommends the board approve the rate increase to $14.83 per cart per month for this voluntary subscription recycling curbside program. And the motion would be in order. And I will also just mention the savings that the town recognizes through this is this takes this garbage out of our waste line that we have to pay the communities on. And the town utilizes it also at some of our accesses and parks. They do a really good job. So a motion would be in order if the board concurs.
Any questions, discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the rate increase to $14.83 per cart per month for the voluntary subscription residential curbside recycling program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
that wraps up new business. Our next item on the agenda is committee reports. Any committee reports this evening?
Nope.
All right, moving on to commissioner's agenda. Anybody have anything to share?
No, sir.
Nothing here.
I just want to say thank you to staff for all of the holiday events and festivities. It was really cool to see so many people out and enjoying that area. And
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's very pretty.
It's a lot of extra work, and I think it.
We have a lot of little elves.
You do.
Buildings and Grounds really works hard on that. Amazing. Thank you.
Anything else for commissioner's agenda? All right, for mayor's agenda, I just would like to touch back on our town's commitment to offshore drilling ban. As you know, our board has maintained its opposition to offshore drilling, seismic testing, and leasing for several decades. I wanted to update you all that on January 6th, the president signed 2 executive memoranda protecting areas of both coasts, especially the entire eastern United States Atlantic coast and the eastern Gulf of Mexico, approximately 334 million acres of the Atlantic outer continental shelf from Canada to the southern tip of Florida and the eastern Gulf of Mexico. There are currently no active oil or natural gas leases in federal waters off the eastern Atlantic coast. This supersedes an earlier time-limited ban that would have expired in 2032 without these recent protections. And I know we recently renewed our opposition to any offshore drilling and seismic testing, and happy to see their town, maintain that commitment. That's all I have for mayor's agenda. Town manager's agenda.
Nothing this evening.
I hope our town attorney is feeling better soon.
I do too.
Yeah, really hope so.
Let's move on to the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. First item on the consent agenda, the minutes from December the 9th, 2024, the November 24 monthly report, the annual certification of firefighters. Our fire department has prepared this list, which includes only those firefighters that have met the state's minimum requirements for training hours. Approval of the consent agenda will record the board certification of the fire department's roster. Number 4 is the response to the local government commission that Sam alluded to in his report concerning the water assets. Number 5 is recommendation for audit services for fiscal year 24-25. This would be with the firm Potter & Company that's currently doing our audit. The finance department's attached memorandum highlights the contract for the 24-25 audit, $44,600 plus $2,000 per major program audit cost if required. Approval of consent agenda will authorize the manager to execute this contract. And lastly, the recommended resolution authorizing the sale of unclaimed and found properties. Approval of the consent agenda will record the board's authorization for the sale of unclaimed properties in accordance with the requirements of the general statute. Staff recommends approval of consent agenda, and a motion would be in order.
So moved.
So, yeah.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We have a consent
Thank you.
agenda. All right, now is our second time for public comment. If anybody wishes to speak. All right. Hearing none, there's no reason to respond. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.